Of course, we have joining us country manager, Making of Champions, Christopher Maduewesi, who will give us more insight on how Nigeria keeps performing on the world stage. And of course, over there in Ghana, where the CAA Region 2 Championships is actually going on in Accra, to be precise. Thanks for joining us, Christopher. Always a great pleasure having you on the show to give us more beautiful updates.
On the show.
Thank you very much. Oyechi, I mean, a lot of interesting times for athletics in Nigeria. And of course, right there in Ghana, we are hoping for nothing but the best for Nigerian athletes.
Yes, of course, we're hoping for nothing but the best. But I'm sure Christopher has got a thought or two concerning this because he's following up with this competition closely. Chris, Nigeria had a really strong start, especially that 400-meter clean sweep. I never saw it coming because I've been talking about the quarter milers, Ezekiel Nathaniel, I've been talking about Samuel Ogazi, I've been talking so much about the quarter milers. It seems all the quarter milers, they need to give me my flowers because of how I've really hyped them. But I'm seeing the future right now, a clean sweep in the 400 meters. Do you think that shows we are finally building depth in track events?
So I should start by saying, I mean, just like Udoka is, well, claiming to be a basketball star, maybe you're going to be a future 400 meters athlete, you know. So it's a good development for Nigeria. It's a good one. Gafar Badmos, by the way, was an under-20 athlete who competed for Nigeria last year in Peru. And this year at the African under-20 championships, you know, he lost at home in Abeokuta, and he felt since then like he has a point to prove to Nigerians that he has not been running 45 seconds, you know, as a fluke. And yesterday in Ghana, he ran a personal best, 45.53 seconds. Ezekiel, you know, 46.38 seconds to finish second in Nigerian 1-2. It shows a promising future for Nigeria in this event. I really do agree with you that this is one event that if we really put our house together, if we put our house in order, this is one event that we can actually really dominate in the future. There's Samuel Ogazi doing great things. There's Ezekiel Nathaniel in the 400 meters hurdle. So 400 meters is one event we can really dominate in. This is the relay on the screen, as you can see. Nigeria won the gold medal. The first time Nigeria is going under 40 seconds, surprisingly, in the men's 4x100 meters. It's a good one. It's a good outing. You could see Olatunde Olaolu on the anchor leg for Nigeria.
Right, so
closing the gap, running down the Ghanaian, and you know, bringing home the baton in a time of 39.74 seconds. So it's a very good event for Nigeria. You might say it's a B team, a C team, but for some of these athletes, this is the first time they are representing the country.
Huge one for the athletes right there. And we'll talk about treasuring these athletes, especially from grassroots level, because when they turn out great, they become world beaters, and that's what we're all looking forward to, for these athletes to become world beaters. Now, talking about treasure, let's talk about Omosivwe Treasure, who is just 15 and already winning gold in the high jump event. How big is this for her future and, of course, for Nigeria in field events?
It's a great one for her. Treasure. She's 15. She was crying when she was told that she wasn't going to compete for Nigeria at the African under-20 championships in Abeokuta, because you have to be 16 to compete. And you know, this is a competition she has gone to, you know, and now proven that she deserves to have been selected to represent Nigeria in Abeokuta. But it's a good one. We've seen an athlete like Temitope Additional in the US. You know, she jumped a national record of 197 meters, qualified for the World Championships. We qualified that this season. It shows great promise. If we continue on this trajectory, continue giving these athletes the right exposure and training, we should be dominating in this event in the future.
All right, let's look at the times before we go to Judechi. The men's 100 meter, won by Olaolu. Of course, he came in at 10.60 seconds. For the women, we had Cynthia coming at 11.62 seconds. Judging by these times and distances covered, Chris, do you think our athletes have done enough for them to be able to match up with continental grades, global grades on track? Because these times, if you go out, that's when you know you've not run you've not even covered anything. Can these young athletes who are still hungry, you talked about Treasure crying that she was not able to compete in Abeokuta because of the age cap. this hunger in them, can they compete, judging by the times that they have covered in the 100 meters and also in the relays?
I don't want to read so much meaning into the times yesterday. Olaolu this season has run a personal best of 10.13 seconds. So, I mean, there are a lot of factors to consider why the times were not so spectacular yesterday in Ghana. I understand from the people on ground in Ghana that it's very cold. And let's not also forget that the Nigerian team traveled all the way to Ghana by road and spent about 10 hours on the road with multiple border checks. And, you know, they got to Ghana on Saturday, on Sunday, and they are competing on Monday. So it's a whole lot of factors that we can consider. By the way, what's her name? Sorry, I'm trying to remember her name now. Cynthia Nweke, yes, Cynthia Chioma Nweke. You know, this season is an African under-20 champion. She ran 11.5 and yesterday she ran 11.70 seconds. And let's also not forget that the stadium, the University of Ghana, is, I mean, you can see how open it is, and there's a lot of negative winds. So it's not a true test of their abilities. It's not a true test of what they can do, how fast they can match up with the best in Africa and the rest of the world. It's just a good exposure for them, for some of them. Like Yano Loa, you could see her on the screen, and James Taiwo, Chidera Isako, who, by the way, competed this morning and won the men's 200 meters with 21.05. So it's not really a true test. I think they can do better with much, you know, more exposure, more events. They are going to really drop those times.
Definitely. Jidechi, I'd like to bring you in on this one now. With all of this happening for Nigeria, especially there in Ghana, how hopeful are you? Early 28, like I said earlier, is around the corner. How hopeful are you for Nigeria, especially in track and field events?
Udoka, I think one thing I would say is the fact that when it comes to athletics and Africa, Nigeria obviously is one of those big countries you would always consider. And what I've observed from the last Olympic Games in Paris is that there's that growth system we can see for our athletes. There's the rise of the young stars across the 400 meters, that's the quarter milers, the short distance runners. You can see quite a number of other names. Even the field events, the jumps, you can see we are getting more names that we would have usually had in previous years. And that is a reason for a bit of an excitement, because when we are talking about the World Championships, when we are talking about upcoming Olympic events, it means that we begin to have more names we could consider than we would have in the previous years, where we would have had the likes of Okabare, those times that you'd have one or two names that you're not really expecting much from a lot of the athletes, because it's just a few people that seem to perform higher above the rest. And this time around, seem to have a lot of them performing high and at the same level. And it's a cause for excitement, because it means that something is being done differently and it might translate to results in subsequent competitions. So yes, I'm pretty excited. Some of the athletes we are seeing now in the athletics events.
Okay.
And I don't want to get ahead of myself, and that's why I'm not going to say too much, but excitement is it, and I'm only expectant that this can translate to actual results when these events come forward.
All right, still staying with athletics, Nigeria's chances of competing in relay events at the 20th World Athletics Championships in Tokyo suffered a major blow. Despite double gold at the CAA Region 2 Senior Championships in Accra, Ghana, the men's 4x100-meter team clocked 39.74 seconds to edge Ghana and Burkina Faso, but the time fell short of the 37.87 benchmark set by the Netherlands for the final qualification spot. Similarly, the women's quartet won in 44.92 seconds, missing Cote d'Ivoire's 42.63 qualifying mark. With the August 24 deadline approaching, Nigeria risks missing the relay stage for the first time since 1983. The individual athletes, however, excelled, with Chioma Nweke, Olaolu Olatunde, Gafari Badmus, and teenager Omosivwe Treasure all securing gold in their respective events. And of course, for Chris, he mentioned some of these athletes who did well in that aspect. But Chris, Nigeria won both relay races in Accra, but still did not hit the qualifying times. How worrying is this with the World Championships just around the corner?
it's one honest truth. I don't think we're going to qualify for any release. We're not going to qualify for any release.
That's unfortunate.
And we don't have time on our side. Also, we missed an opportunity when we didn't send the team to China. All we needed to do was send teams to China and just qualify for the final. And because there will be just 2 positions up for grabs, it meant that every country in the world was going to be fighting for that position. And because we are not running with our best athletes, it was going to be a mountain. We needed to run our national record. Our national record is 37.94 seconds, which was achieved since 1997 in Athens.
But Chris, who should be blamed for this? Chris, who should be blamed for this? Because we are seeing the same hands. Of course, re-elected as the president of the Athletics Federation of Nigeria is Nana Bokukoa. We're seeing the same hands in the administrative system. Who should take the fall for these?
Who should take the fall? Nigeria. I'm not going to say it's AFN because I have my reasons for not saying it's AFN. This new board, they came on board in June, and the world release was in May. A whole lot of things happened this year. At the start of the season, when the board didn't know whether they would continue, it left a room, or rather, it left a vacuum for so many things to happen. And we had problems not applying for visas early and not getting our teams together.
So not applying for visas, is it not the AFN that's responsible for, making the visa arrangements for the athletes, or who is responsible?
You're trying to put me on the spot for you.
Because I'm trying to get answers here. I'm trying to get answers. I don't know what's really, I can't wrap my head around what's really happening, because right now these athletes will not be, come on, at the relay event, because they could not make it to China. So who makes the call? Who should be responsible? Who makes the arrangement?
So my sources in the AFN told me that, when we put up news that Nigeria wasn't going to go and that they didn't apply for visas early, they did tell me that they applied early, and there were a whole lot of issues, all right? Even the Chinese embassy reached out to them, apologized afterwards, for not fast-tracking and not processing the visas. So it's a whole lot of things. A whole lot happened behind the scenes. And let's also not forget that Nigeria didn't know if they were going to go with the women's 4x1 team, because about 3 members of the team had already been poached by other countries. So it's a whole lot of factors. We can't just sit here and say, okay, AFN is to be blamed, the ministry is to be blamed, because they also have, a hand in this. And that's why I'm trying not to place a blame on anyone, because I know for a fact, some of the things that have happened behind the scenes. And I don't want to be on national TV and I'm just, apportioning blames to people when I know that there were some errors, maybe administrative errors that led to us not going to China. So it's a shame it happened. Hopefully next year will be a repeat of what happened this year.
All right, we'll be hoping that afflictions will not arise a second, a third time, a fourth time, a fifth time, and go into the 10th time, especially when it comes to athletics in Nigeria. I know you do not want to throw anyone under the bus, but we've gotten to that time where whenever you're given something on the administrative level and you do not do it well, you should go under, of course, get the hammer or go under the knife for it. Thank you so much, Country Manager. There we have Christopher Maduewesi. Thank you so much for your thoughts today, and thank you for the update.
Thank you. Always a pleasure being on the show.